Boom. Here we got the Aby Forest Axe by Hultafors, a great packable hybrid axe. We got a 1.5 pound head, hand forged, made in Sweden. We got a handle length of 23.5 inches, very slim, very slender, long and thin, just how I like it. Got an interesting design up top with this notch, and it widens out here towards the bit. This definitely has more of a crafting style to it. With that notch out up here, you can easily choke up on it to do some finer work. It also is a very convenient little notch to be able to hang the axe on a tree branch. We got a serviceable leather axe mask that has a leather thong to wrap around the head instead of one of those clips, which for some people, that's a positive, not a negative, because some of those clips can stretch out and not end up clipping properly. This might be one of the top contenders for the best bushcraft axe out there. As far as its capabilities, as far as its packability and its size, it kind of fits in that sweet spot of axes that we weekend warriors like to carry out with us. This is basically a hybrid hatchet. It's a hatchet with a long handle to it. A lot of other axes in this range kind of come with like a 20-inch handle, maybe at the most. You might get a 21-inch handle. Coming in at 23.5, 24 inches, it gives you that just extra length to give you that extra striking power, and you can swing it faster, essentially. Because of the way that this axe is designed, it bites into the wood very well. It makes it really easy to process wood, say that is 6 inches in diameter or smaller. Anything larger and this axe is a little bit too small. I bucked up a fairly large log to show a demonstration of kind of what it's capable of. The log that I chose to buck up was kind of at its limit of the ability of the axe. It's not something that I would like to do every day, but it can do it, essentially. Because the head can bite in really well, you almost have a Scandi grind on that edge. It's slightly convex, I think. It's very close to being a Scandi grind on this one. So it's more of a V edge than necessarily a convex, which is more typical on axes like this, which kind of gives it a bit of an edge in the crafting department. It's pretty good at making shavings, and it's pretty good at making things like stakes and that sort of stuff. And it's very good at felling, 4-inch diameter trees that are dead standing that you want to use for firewood. Off the top of my head, I can think of probably like 5 other axes that might be able to contend with this one. In the comments section below, why don't you go and list some contenders for the best bushcraft axe comparing to this one, because I think that this axe here has a lot going for it. Weighing in at just 2.25 pounds, this makes a very packable axe. Yes, the handle's a little bit longer, but I can still get it inside my 60-liter bag, no problem. And I can still hang it on the outside of a bag, no problem either. The axe handle basically fits right into my armpit as far as length goes. When you're doing some of the finer tasks, you do have a little bit longer of a handle that can kind of be waving around. It's not too bad. It's a little bit noticeable. So like this is not like your bowl carving axe to say. It's totally fine. It doesn't feel too awkward. Axes that are bigger than this, it's kind of hard to do that fine shavings and fine making stakes and that sort of stuff. This axe doesn't really have that problem, but it's not nearly as convenient and comfortable as saying an axe of this size. This is the Hultafors Hultan hatchet. When you're doing the fine stuff with this, you have a lot less handle wiggling around. You have a little bit more control. You're going to be able to do finer movements with this one compared to something like this. So this would be another axe that I would say might be competing with it. It's something a little bit smaller, something a little bit more traditional as a hatchet that you can still get 2 hands on. This is the Hultafors Haltan hatchet. It's got a 1-pound head and a 15-inch handle. And if you enjoy this content, remember to drop a comment and a like, hit that notify. There's links in the description to support me. If you really wanted to, you could always put a collar around the top for overstrike, because that's probably the one thing that might damage this axe the most, is overstriking it and just weakening this point here. So that is something to consider. I might go ahead and just put some hockey tape or something around it and just make do with that, because when you are swinging this thing, you can swing this thing pretty hard and fast. If you miss and you hit your handle, you're going to be hitting it a lot harder than if you miss and hit your handle with a hatchet. So that is something to consider. Now, I've had a lot of fun with this axe. I took it out on an overnight. I've probably had this axe for about a year now, and I've done a few things off camera with it, and it's honestly a real joy to use. This axe is so good at delimbing. I think it's like the best thing that this axe can do is it's so clean. It feels so satisfying to just cleanly slice through a nice thick branch. I can't understate how beautiful this axe is at delimbing. It feels so good to delimb with this axe. And I wanted it to kind of complement axes that I already had. So like the Hultafors Haltan hatchet has been my go-to for a while. And obviously, like, this is lighter, it's a lot more packable. I wanted an axe that just had like a little bit more firepower to it, but like still could come out in the woods with me, no problem. And this axe just fits the bill. Where does this axe lack? It's kind of like, if you're really processing a lot of firewood, it's winter, you have a lot of snow, and you need some big logs. I don't think that this axe is necessarily the best one. You might want to go up to like the 26 inches, that sort of range. I think some people might find that the handle length might be a bit too long for their liking, and some people might even find the handle a bit too thin for their liking. So it's very hard to please everyone in this category of like best bushcraft axe, as it doesn't really exist. But if you're gonna go for like a one-size-fits-all axe, this has gotta be like up there in the top 5 for axes that you might consider purchasing. As far as price point goes, this axe cost me $250 Canadian over a year ago. I got it for my birthday. It was a birthday present. This axe isn't necessarily a budget-friendly, affordable option. It's an axe that has quality, that's built well and built to last, and obviously it's got a reputation. It's got a pretty unique design. You're not going to find an axe like this in Home Depot or in Canadian Tire, so that's why you're going to pay a little bit of a premium for something like this. For you guys in the States, it will obviously be cheaper than what I bought it for. I would also like to know, what would you prefer? Would you prefer this 23.5-inch, 1.5-pound head axe, or would you prefer a 1-pounder, 15-inch axe as the Hultafors Haltan? A lot of H's. Overall, it's going to be really hard to beat this axe. I'm super happy to have it, and I don't think you guys are going to be disappointed if you decide to pick one of these up.